I do like my country, Nigeria. Its rich cultures, the people with their imaginativeness and their energy, boundless energy, always striving to achieve something. I love it. And I like my second country, Italy. The romance, the attachment to history, and the sea, the mountains, the culture, the history, the beauty, the love of the Mediterranean people of Italy has had a great influence on me and my art, my music, and my writings, without a shadow of doubt. But one country among the 20 countries or so that I've visited, I've lived in, worked in, sometimes temporarily, one country that I really enjoyed being in was Uganda. People are usually surprised because they know very little about Uganda. Most people know about Idi Amin, the dictator, terrible dictator that killed millions, well, not millions, hundreds of thousands of Ugandans. And that's all they know about Uganda. A little more. They remember the raid at Entebbe. Mm. But I fell in love with Uganda when I was a child. I liked Idi Amin at the first part of his regime. He had a coup which was bloodless, and he stood like a mountain, a behemoth of a man, a former boxing champion, rugby player, swimmer, athletic, and he stood above and he said, I'm going to liberate my country from the imperialists. And I loved him because he made a lot of jokes and I was very young. And until, well, when he started killing too many people, even his jokes were no longer funny. But I also loved the Princess of Toro, Princess Elizabeth Bagaya. When I was a child, I used to watch her in magazines. She was a great model, international, and she became foreign minister of Uganda, and she was standing out there in the world and projecting her country's image around the world. And she herself was a very beautiful woman with this long neck. I couldn't imagine how a person's neck could be that long. And I remember she came to Nigeria to launch her book, African Princess, and I was a poor student, and I was saving my money to buy this book. I went without food, you know, and saved all my pocket money, and eventually managed to get a copy of that book. And it told me everything I wanted to know about Uganda. And also modeling, and perhaps that's why I became Nigeria's top male model eventually. I did get a lot of inspiration from the Princess of Toro. And so one country that I thought it was this mythical, exotic place in the middle of Africa with all the animals and the wild, and life was still simple. And I looked forward and I dreamt that someday I would go to Uganda. And when I had the opportunity as a member of the Italian diplomatic mission, uh, I took it with both hands. And first, I went to the library and went on the internet, and I actually had about a month or so to study Uganda. So I read a lot about Uganda. I watched I remember that I watched the Obsessions music group, um, Chameleon, Bobby Wine, Baby Cool. I watched the Blue Three and a number of other groups. And as you know, I am a musician, and a writer, artist. I am the founder of Nollywood, so I'm an artist. I'm a frontline African artist. So everyone knows Bob Ejike as the artist. So even though I was going on an administrative mission, I also had behind my mind the fact that I would also engage in my music and in my art, and as much as possible try to imbibe and influence the art of where I was going to. And Uganda was very beautiful, when we were landing, the Entebbe airport seems to be surrounded by a network of lakes. So you are flying low as you begin to descend over lush vegetation that is endless, and it's just like a slice of paradise. And then you begin to see water intermingle with the land, and then there is the airport ahead of you. And then we landed, and I came out and I saw this very smart African um, customs, immigration, very smart black, and very nice, obviously well trained, and they let us in very courteously. And we had outriders. There was the flag, the Italian flag was flying, and we were taken in a motorcade to our home, which had already been prepared for us. And I was immediately introduced to Claudio, a gentleman, nice Italian gentleman who later became one of my best friends in Uganda because he knew almost everybody, had been there for a long time. He knew what I needed at any point. And, well, we didn't go straight home. We went to a hotel in Muyenga. And it was nice for me because I'd seen Muyenga in the map. I had looked very well at the map. Tank Hill, Muyenga, the International Hospital, and Namuwongo Market. And we were staying in this hotel quite close to La Forêt, which was an amusement park with swimming pool and everything. And in the morning, Claudio woke me up and said, "There is somebody I think you should meet, and she's out here." And I came out, and there was Cindy. And Cindy was a singer with the Blue Three. I said, "How did you know I wanted to meet her?" He said, "Well, once you were introduced as a musician, I thought you should meet her." And that was nice. Cindy was very nice. And we sat down, and I told her, one of the things that I have arriving, because I had two containers, a double container. I didn't have much furniture and things like that, but I had studio equipment, which I had bought in Milan. I actually bought 6 recording studios, audio visual equipment. So obviously, I intended to run a studio, a big one, and take control of my entertainment industry. And that I had not done any market research or anything. I just took a plunge And I spent a lot of money to buy these equipment. And I told her, I've seen your works and I know who you are, and uh, tell me who are the most important showbiz people in Uganda. At that time, she said something like Wavamuno, um, Mulindwa, and Stephen Mayanja, who was running the Grand Imperial. And well, basically, these were the three names I remember. She said to me, if you get these three guys on your side, you can't go wrong. I said, it's all right. Can you help me meet them? She said, yes, of course. I know them. I will tell you how to link them up. And I said, I have these containers coming in and they are carrying my studios. I need to rent a place. I need a bungalow by the Lake Victoria, and there must be at least 6 rooms. I want space so artists can sit down and compose. I want vegetation. And this was the idea that I had in my head. And she said, I know someone who can help you, you know. And I started out with her, and I met her sister, who, Charlie Gonza, became eventually one of the top designers in Uganda, and she was also into modeling agency, and she was able to bring together, I think within a week or two, I was already shooting my first music video in Uganda. I got a lot of help from Cindy, her sister. Her brother was in my video too, and her younger sister as well, and even her mother. So more or less, they were like family to me. And actually, I got my manager from their outfit, Mariam, and then Mariam started to take me around to meet the Ugandan media. Uganda is very rich in media. It's Kampala was a city of about 2 million people, and there were over 60 FM stations, and there were about 12 TV stations. I visited all of them. They welcomed me. They are very welcoming people. They are very nice people. They are quite a big contrast from my Nigerian people. Ugandans don't argue. They don't like noise. I used to tell my driver, hey, when we got to my gate, and he'd rather wait than horn for the gateman to come and open the gate. And I'd say, hey, blow the horn, that's why it's there. He said, no, 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 no. Don't worry, they will hear the sound of the vehicle. And they'll come out. I would say, look, I'm losing time. Blow your horn. Oh, no. We are Ugandans, we don't like noise. Peter, my driver, and I had 3 security men. I remember he was the head, he was the first, and then the others, and they doubled as my costumiers when I did recording. They knew exactly what how to combine my clothes, and I loved it. There were also about how many? About 2,000 nightclubs in Kampala alone. And artists were expected to perform in all of them, because the nightclubs became more like a part of the media, because Um, the Ugandans have a club life, which means that people finish work and they drive to the club. So they were, the radio had competition, the TV had competition because the man was not home watching TV, he was in the club. So if you wanted to get him to listen to your music, the men and the women, young, especially the young ones that were in the club, you had to go to the club and sing your songs for them. And when you sang your song in the club, the club would be playing your music. If you stopped coming to sing for them a free song, they won't be playing your music. And so you had to have that network of clubs, friendly clubs that are promoting your music if you had to be relevant. Beside also being on television for those who are home and on radio. And occasionally, there were two major newspapers, the Monitor, if I'm correct, and the New Vision, which was the government paper, and of course a lot of blogs and a lot of other newspapers. There was the Red Paper, which was more like a gossip stroke pornography. You could see every kind of news, everything sexual and bizarre. You had them in the Red Paper. But those three newspapers, you had to have your contacts there. You had to have your activities. You had to have, some vibrancy within them because everyone read them. And so I hired a young man called Charles Bromel Luanda. I took him from Record TV. He was a producer and presenter. And he became my manager. And he was very energetic in the 20s, which means I was much older than him. He made me work 3 nights without rest, without a break, day and night. He didn't care about my age. And I'm lucky I'm still alive, you know. And Uganda has beaches, a lot of beaches. But this will be amazing for those who know that Uganda is landlocked. But you see, Kampala is locked within a network of tributaries of the Lake Victoria, and each of them had an outlet into the city that was a beach, and these beaches were popular places for entertainment at the weekend. That's where big shows were held. Some of the biggest shows that I attended in my life were in Uganda. I played for the Kabaka of Buganda, the biggest show in the country, one of the biggest shows, and people were very, very happy to receive the Nigerian star, and at a point I played for the Kabaka in this annual show, and I played various shows every weekend, and I was billed onto shows and concerts with Bobby Wine, Chameleon, Juliana, most of the superstars in in Uganda. I remember one incident that was really, really funny. It was Peter Miles. Peter Miles is a Ugandan crooner, rapper, and reggae kind of artist. And he had this show, I think it was around the end of Kampala Road, Lugogo Cricket Oval. And he had arranged it very well, and the whole place was packed, and the gate was locked. Then suddenly it started raining. He had not made any preparation for rain. And the rain was beating the instruments on the stage. And the rain was really, really heavy. And he had spent all his money to hire the place and arrange the place. And he had also um, taken money from the gate to pay some of the bills. And the people started shouting for him to give refund, and there was no way he could do that because he didn't have the money anymore anyway. Much of it had been spent. And then there was a group that was quite violent, and this boy was going to get into real trouble. And I had a diplomatic vehicle with a diplomatic plate number. They were not allowing any vehicles to leave. I mean, they were checking every vehicle thoroughly to make sure that Peter Miles was not in one of them. When Bebe Cool, one of the biggest stars in Uganda, called me and said, please, we need your help. We need you to help smuggle this man out so he doesn't get killed. Peter Miles. I said, it's all right. I was driving a Jeep, so with a diplomatic plate number, I opened the boot of my Jeep and Peter Miles sneaked in and we closed him. And then Bebeku drove out. They searched him. And as I approached, because it was a diplomatic car, they didn't search me. And so we drove, I drove and drove. I was following Bebeku with my driver, I don't know, my manager, Charles. And when we got to a point near his house, Bebeku decided it was too dangerous to take him home because they were definitely going to come to his house. So we had to drive out of town, find a hotel somewhere in the bush, and keep this man in safety. And that was one of the incidents that I remember. And along the way, Claudio called me and said the Honorable General Eliton Wine, who was one of, he's still one of the most powerful people in Uganda because he's currently the security minister, a very talented person. He is an artist besides being a general in the army and commander of the armed forces of Uganda, a member of parliament and a presidential advisor. He'd been minister in different ministries. And he was keen as the head of a panel that was intent on developing cinematographic culture in Uganda and the home video industry in the vein of Nollywood. And when he heard that the founder of Nollywood was about, he sent for me immediately. And I came to meet him and he asked if I could work with with his panel to teach them how we Nigerians make our low budget films and how we dominate the continent with our films. So we don't just dominate the continent, we are the third biggest film industry in the world. I told him, he said something to me, your greatest achievement is that you have given the black man and the African a voice in world media, which we never had since the time of Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness. Everything said about us was said through the prism of Western Europe. But now we can see Africa the way it really is. People can no longer ask you if you live on trees unless they don't watch Nollywood. Okay, so let's